So we're just outside Tramore today, and I'm going to be speaking to Anthony Betts. Anthony is doing 3.5 cent over the Glanbia national average, and we're going to speak to Anthony and see how his philosophy is getting him ahead. Are you at the pinnacle of your powers, or are you all the time striving to just go that extra nudge?
I'd like to kind of regularly hit 580, 600 kilos.
You're a one-man show here, and you just mentioned the AI man. How important is he to your operation here?
Well, if he wasn't any good, I'd be out the door, wouldn't I? He'd be very important.
How do you pick your bulls? 3
things that would be important are percentage protein, fertility, and production.
Anthony, you moved here in 1975.
Yes.
Bring us on that journey from 1975 to now.
Well, in 1975, I left school. Father died in 83, took over in 83. Didn't find that particularly easy. He was the boss while he was alive, and I can remember he used to say, you know, when I'm dead and gone, you can do whatever you like. But when he was dead and gone, it wasn't that comfortable to do whatever I liked because I wasn't sure. But anyway, we progressed along in a very, very mediocre way, I would say. And we started milk recording. And that in itself, I mean, it's a slow process, building up records, making decisions and seeing results. And I think, as I've said on other occasions to people, you know, if you're using semen and different bulls, you know, you put a cow in calf in the middle of April, 9 months later, that calf pops out on the ground, all things going well. If it's a heifer, then 2 years later, we actually have a heifer calving down.
Yeah. 2
years and 9 months later from the day you put the straw in. Then she does 9 months of milking, and that's her first lactation. So we're on 3 years, 9 months. And you just have an idea of what she's like, because it wouldn't be a good thing to actually cull heifers just on the basis of the first year's milk.
Of course,
because some fantastic cows can have very average first years.
Yeah.
So we're now going to the second lactation, and we're now on, I have to go back and count them again now. We're on 4 years, 9 months.
Yeah.
It's an awful long distance between the time you put the straw in and you made a decision, God, I like that bull, to now you're beginning to see results. And I think breeding can be difficult at the beginning because it takes so long.
Are you at the pinnacle of your powers, or are you all the time striving to just go that extra nudge?
I'd like to kind of regularly hit the 580, 600 kilos. And then I'd be fairly happy that my system was optimized and going well. But in the background then, I suppose, then you'd want to be thinking, well, if you want to move on from there, would you consider maybe putting an extra 150, 200, well, we said 200 litres, using bulls with 200 kilos of milk, to try and get an extra 100 kilos on your heifers and creep up the yields. And I'd be prepared to do that gradually and slowly. But the one thing I won't sacrifice is fertility, because I think that'll cost a lot more money in the end if you lose fertility.
I mean, at what point did you say, right, I need to focus on the breeding?
Going to meetings and listening to people talking about managing cows, it made sense to record and then to cull cows that weren't as good. But it makes more sense to me today because the records are so extensive.
Yeah.
And because I've actually, my average protein is above the Glanbia average.
Very much above.
So that gives you confidence, and it gives you, gives you feedback, and it gives you the motivation and the interest to say, well, God, all those years, they are beginning to pay back.
Yeah.
So it's a slow process.
You're talking about picking bulls. Like, you have some great genetic gain in your herd. You're well above the national average in terms of EBI, solids, all of that. What's your criteria when you're sitting down, when you're picking a bull? What's your criteria? Are you looking? How do you pick your bulls?
Three things that would be important are percentage protein, fertility, and production. Protein percentage, I think, is important because we'll say you have, just on percentages, 5% of 100 is 5. But if you were extremely good at what you do, and instead of 100 extra litres, you got 200, 5% of 200 is 10.
Yeah.
So I think percentages, they can lead to great things.
That's where the money is what you're trying to say.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
A percentage is much bigger and better than a plus.
Yeah, yeah.
I prefer to get my milk solids through percentages. First of all, higher percentage of protein tends to be associated with higher fertility.
Yeah.
Higher kilos of milk solids got through percentages is not as taxing on the cow as a cow trying to produce an extra 400 kilos of litres, litres of milk, which is virtually 400, litres more.
Yeah.
93 or 4% water.
Yeah.
Plus those 400 extra litres all have a minus 4% deduction on the price of your litre as well.
Yeah. You're a one-man show here, and you just mentioned the AI man. How important is he to your operation here?
Well, if he wasn't any good, I'd be out the door, wouldn't I? He'd be very important.
Yeah.
And so far, so good.
It's going well. And maybe
it would be a sad story, George.
I noticed something written up on the parlour, a quote. Would you talk me through that?
The heading anyway is skill before scale. And the idea anyway is that, you should become good at what you're doing before you advance on to doing more and in expanding. That if you're not doing a good job where you are at, then expanding or getting bigger could actually be a disaster. You could actually lose money. So that was skill before scale, and I thought that originates with John Roach. He's operating out in New Zealand. I thought it was a very good, succinct statement, and it makes sense to me. Plus, if you can use your figures from the milk recording, if you use your AI figures, and if you're happy in yourself that, yeah, I'm above average, that's a good performance, you then have the confidence to actually seriously consider expanding if that's what you want to do, or whatever changes you want to make. It gives you a better footing rather than throwing mud at the wall and hoping to God it sticks. Some people are addicted. They think if they work harder, they'll make more money or it'll be more successful, and it could be the opposite. What
advice would you give? So if I'm starting off, I haven't AI'd before, I haven't milk recorded before, I'm completely, I maybe have an established herd, maybe I have a new herd, and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, Anthony, where am I going from here? I want to be where you are in 10 years' time. What do I do? Jesus, when you say that to me, what would you do starting off? It's not easy, actually. It's not easy starting off because it is a long game. My idea of it is it's like juggling 5 or 6 balls. There's breeding, there's growing grass, there's making silage. And you have them all up in the air. And if you drop one of them, well, maybe you just drop the one, but you keep the other 5 going. Or if you're distracted by that one drop, and then they all fall. Sometimes you can get disheartened and you can give up. And this is where springtime is extremely difficult. With the workload, milking, cows, calving, keeping calves right, bedded. If you had any issues with calves, like if they wouldn't suck, a calf that wouldn't suck or drink, just takes up an awful lot of time. And then you have preheats coming in. Then you have the breeding season. It's hard to keep it all going and to be enthusiastic and to be, hey, jump out of the bed, I'm ready to go.
And I forgot about the nights up calving if you're doing that. I don't
Yeah.
do that anymore.
But you love it though.
I do because I'm getting results. If you weren't getting results, it'd be hard to maintain it. I think it's like a lot of things in life. You know, people can get results in different places. You know, you might be a good footballer or hurler. And if you are, that can have a huge influence on the rest of your life. So having a win or success, wherever it is, whether it's on the farm or off, that can hugely impact the rest of your life.
Attitude is contagious.
It's like I said, you know, the better you get, then the more you can afford to live on the edge. And it's like, there's a lot of dead bodies up on Mount Everest. That doesn't stop people climbing it. No good putting a sign up on Mount Everest saying, can't climb, too dangerous, health and safety. They won't listen because people want to conquer it.
I get you.
It's like the person who wants to run the fastest mile. They're not going to stop until they're bet. But they're going to have a hell of a good time trying. And not everybody's going to be able to. If you take a broad perspective on things, you know, the people who come 6th and 7th in a race or 4th, you know, at that level, they're all brilliant. They're all, you know, they've all put in the work. They've all put in the effort. They don't get the photographs. They don't get the gold medal. But they do have the satisfaction of knowing they were fucking damn good. And if the race was run maybe on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday, they might have.
They could have.
Yeah.
Now listen, Anthony, thanks a million for having us down. It's been great. I know it's calving we've ripped you away from calving, and it's just thanks for taking the time out of your day.
Lovely, thank you, George.
This episode concludes series number 2 of George Goes Dairy Farming. We've had an interesting time filming from the Hickeys to the Quins to the Cullens. They've all brought in something different and unique, and we've really seen how dairy is an exciting industry to be in and how it's ever expanding and growing. Finishing off on a philosophical note with Anthony Betts. It's been an ever-learning experience as always, and I suppose keeping things simple as from the first season is brought through the second season, and particularly with Anthony as he kind of rings home setting those little targets and those little goals. And you know, size aside, if you look at the Hickeys, same message as well, keeping it simple. The Cullens, same message again, keeping it simple. And then the Quins, you know, all these guys doing slightly different things but doing them really, really well. And the whole key message was setting your targets, keeping things simple. And again, thank them and thank you guys for watching. It's been an interesting time, and I wish everyone all the best for 2021.